a scary moment as we went to commercial. Sophie Cunningham hit the floor hard. And
Sophie Cunningham, oh man, I got to tell you, this victory, it came with a big price.
Look at today's game where Sophie Cunningham went out in the first half. And that was such a huge blow for the Indiana Fever because Sophie Cunningham has been somebody, she has been the glue of this team since Caitlin has been out.
Sophie Cunningham was flat out targeted by a dirty player.
I'd say there's a near 0% chance that Sophie Cunningham plays again this year, for being honest.
The Indiana Fever are officially under attack from the basketball gods. Additionally, they gave their all today, delivering the most terrible blow yet by eliminating Sophie Cunningham. What had begun as a typical game against the son of a basement dweller in Connecticut was transformed into a complete nightmare when Indiana's toughest defender, Bria Hartley, who reportedly believes she is playing rugby rather than basketball, crashed straight into Sophie's knee, leaving her writhing in pain on the court.
I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what it was at first when I saw her went down. So let's break down the play where Sophie got hurt. So as you can see here, Bria Hartley is going baseline. Kelsey Mitchell is guarding her. And then Sophie comes over to help. And then Bria Hartley falls on her leg. And Sophie immediately grabs like her shin area.
They went at Sophie Cunningham early. And considering this is Bria Hartley, I'm not ruling out that she jumped through her knee. Considering who it is, I'm not. Like, Bria Hartley has been ejected multiple times. She's yanked Angel by the hair. This is the Connecticut Sun. This is a team that have jumped through players' knees before.
Bria Hartley has had dirty plays all season. But you got to know who we're talking about. Bria Hartley is the same girl that pulled Angel Reese out of there by her ponytail just last game, I think 2 days ago. She pulls Becca Allen by her head to the floor, and Ariel Atkins goes over there to protect her teammate. Bria Hartley has been doing dirty things for all season. She's been a dirty player.
Every Fever supporter began to wonder if this infamous season would ever end due to the injury epidemic that has plagued them all year long when they saw Sophie clutching her right knee while tears were streaming down her cheeks. This is where the story takes the most amazing turn you could ever imagine. Though, as the Indiana Fever pulled off the biggest comeback in team history without its defensive anchor, and with a roster held together by athletic tape and sheer willpower, what followed defied all laws of physics, mathematics, and common sense. Press the like button and leave a comment with Comeback Queens, because you're about to see the type of sports magic that occurs perhaps once in a lifetime for.
For 25 minutes, didn't look like we had any business beating this Connecticut Sun team. For 25 minutes, we looked like the worst team on the court. Defensive rotations, Marina hitting the three, Sanaya Rivers taking it to the rim, Tina Charles, Aaliyah Edwards, out-rebounding AB, Natasha Howard. But we came alive when we needed to come alive. We forced overtime. Kelsey Mitchell, back-to-back threes in OT. Lexi Hull, dagger three, putting the nail in the coffin.
I'm so proud of you. We're proud of you too. I'm so proud of you guys. I know that sometimes it sounds like just a word when we talk about being resilient, but it's not, man. It's how we live. Yeah. It's how y'all live, and it's a tribute to you. It's a tribute to your connectedness, your togetherness, your toughness, your mindset. You never give up gritty attitudes. Like, that's what it takes. That's what it takes, and we will never be counted out, because that is worth gold. That is worth gold.
Seeing the injury itself develop in real time was heartbreaking. And everybody who has been watching the WNBA this season is aware of Bria Hartley's identity and the reputation she has established. The player that grabbed Angel Ree's ponytail and yanked her out of the air is this one. The same shady rival who has been hurling elbows and making careless plays throughout the season while somehow escaping the kind of repercussions that ought to have led to her suspension months ago. In the second quarter, Hartley lost control while driving to the basket and not only fell awkwardly, but she also collided with Sophie, planted the right leg against a support beam like a wrecking ball. You have to question whether these officials will continue to tolerate such careless behavior until someone's career is permanently terminated because the consequence was so severe and obviously preventable.
Now, she was on the ground. She was crying. She was yelling. It definitely seemed like she was in a ton of pain. The training staff went over to her. They went to commercial break. Like, it was a real injury. This wasn't something, and Sophie's the type of player, a lot of times when she does get injured, she just gets right back up. She tries to walk it off. This was something that kept her down, and it was so hard to see. It is ironic because Bria Hartley has been in multiple scuffles this year with the Connecticut Sun. A lot of people would categorize her as a dirty player.
She roughs house. And Kathy Engelberg, this is why I say you wonder why there's so many goddamn injuries all over the league, because you are allowing people to play rugby and football and do UFC moves in the middle of a basketball game. In the beginning of this game, Sophie Cunningham is bringing the ball up the floor. She gets mugged, hit upside the head, knocked to the floor while dribbling the ball up the floor 75 feet away from the rim. Do you think the refs called anything?
Both Sophie's sister, I believe, and her mother both tweeted about this play. Now, Lindsay, her sister, said, WNBA, maybe you should focus less on fining players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game and protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you, Sophie. And then Paula, who I think is her mom, that's what the internet is saying, she said Hartley is a disgruntled player, having trouble everywhere she goes. She's plain mean and plays out of control.
Sophie's response gave you all the information you required to understand the gravity of what had transpired. Because being strong, physical, and never giving up on anything or anyone is the foundation of this player's entire identity. It was the kind of moment where you know something major just happened when you saw her instantly grab her knee, begin hopping around on one leg, and then collapse to the ground in obvious agony. Given that Indiana is already down to essentially a skeleton crew of healthy players, the fact that she needed assistance from teammates and trainers to leave the court while obviously trying to put any weight on that leg should have been the end of the story. However, this is what, from a league-wide standpoint, makes the entire situation even more vexing. If the WNBA had been doing its job throughout the season rather than letting players like Hartley play like they were in a demolition derby, this injury would have been totally avoidable. In the first quarter, the referees allowed Hartley and her colleagues to get away with a number of cheap shots and excessively forceful moves, including slamming Sophie to the ground when she was dribbling the ball 75 feet from the basket without making any calls. When you establish a setting where participants are aware that they can get away with if UFC maneuvers and rugby tactics are used without repercussions, someone will eventually suffer severe injuries. And that's just what took place today.
The Connecticut Sun, by the way, if you guys have seen, they've done a lot. They have done a lot of reckless things in this game that haven't led to fouls. I don't think this is. I hope this isn't reckless. I can't rule out it being reckless. I hope it's not reckless. But at the same time, like the referees, there were so many situations earlier on in the game that, in fairness, that the referees were letting them away with. The referees thought, okay, yeah, let's tee up Sophie Cunningham straight away in the game, and that's keeping the game in control. But from minute one, the Connecticut Sun, how many times have the Connecticut Sun against the Fever dove through people's knees? Multiple times this team has.
You guys brag about how physical. You guys wear it like a badge of honor. We're here to watch basketball. If we want to watch wrestling, we'll watch wrestling. If we want to watch fighting, we'll watch fighting. We're here to watch basketball. And Bria Hartley is no different than Dejanay Carrington. It's just nobody talks about it because she's on the Connecticut Sun and they suck.
The fact that Sophie Cunningham has taken on a central role on this Fever team during Caitlin Clark's prolonged absence is especially frustrating. Being the only player who is prepared to defend her teammates and provide the level of vigor and defensive presence that winning teams need. Since the All-Star break, she has been Indiana's most reliable player, averaging over 12 points per game, shooting over 50% from three-point range, and exhibiting the kind of leadership that no player from the street can match. For a club that is already in the last stages of the playoff battle, losing her for any length of time would be disastrous.
Sophie Cunningham was by far, as the games went along, by a landslide, the best addition we had on this roster. From her play, her shot making, her defense, the intensity she brings, the energy, her having Caitlin Clark's back and actually being willing to fight and scrap when nobody else would hold Caitlin Clark down. Sophie Cunningham said, you know what? I got you. Now she's done. The best addition we had all season.
She is playing so incredibly well during the second half of this season. She plays hard every single night. She's super tough. She doesn't make excuses. Like, she is somebody who has really held this team together.
The timing couldn't be worse for the Fever, who came into this game having lost 4 of their last 5 contests and desperately needing a victory against the worst team in the league to keep their postseason hopes alive. With Caitlin Clark missing her 13th consecutive game due to her groin injury, Sydney Colson and Ari McDonald both out for the season with their respective injuries, and now Sophie potentially joining that list, Indiana was looking at the very real possibility of having their season completely derailed by circumstances beyond their control. When the Sun jumped out to a 19-point halftime lead and extended it to 21 points early in the third quarter, it felt like we were watching the final nail being hammered into the Fever's playoff coffin. But this is where the story transforms from heartbreak into pure magic. Because instead of folding under the pressure and adversity like most teams would have done in this situation, the Indiana Fever decided to write one of the most incredible comeback stories in recent basketball history, led by Kelsey Mitchell, who apparently decided that losing wasn't an option regardless of how many obstacles got thrown in their path. Indiana embarked on a second-half performance that defied every statistical model and probability calculator in existence. What we witnessed was the kind of championship-level heart and determination that separates good teams from great ones. Kelsey Mitchell's performance in this game deserves its own dedicated documentary series because what she accomplished over the final 2.5 quarters of basketball was nothing short of supernatural. After managing just 4 points in the first half while watching her team fall apart around her, Mitchell erupted for 34 points in the second half and overtime to tie her career high with 38 total points. That's not just a great individual performance. That's the highest scoring game by any player in the entire WNBA this season, and it came at the exact moment when her team needed a miracle to keep their season alive. The numbers alone don't do justice to what Mitchell accomplished in this comeback because she didn't just score points, she completely took over the game in every conceivable way. She went 11 for 22 from the field, 5 for 8 from three-point range, and 11 for 12 from the free throw line, while also dishing out 6 assists and grabbing 4 rebounds. More importantly, she scored all 10 of Indiana's points in overtime, including back-to-back three-pointers that essentially put the game away and completed the largest comeback in franchise history. When the pressure was at its highest and the stakes couldn't have been more critical, Mitchell responded like a true superstar. What makes Mitchell's performance even more impressive is the historical context of what she achieved, because according to the record books, she just joined Diana Taurasi as the only players in WNBA history with multiple games of 35 or more points, 6 or more assists, and 5 or more three-pointers. That's the kind of company you want to be in when you're talking about clutch performances and legendary individual efforts. The fact that this happened during the most crucial game of Indiana's season, with their playoff hopes hanging in the balance and their roster decimated by injuries, makes it even more remarkable. But Mitchell didn't accomplish this comeback single-handedly because the supporting cast that stepped up around her deserves just as much credit for refusing to give up when everything seemed hopeless. Odyssey Sims, who was just signed to a hardship contract and made her first start for Indiana in this game, contributed 19 points and 7 assists while providing the kind of veteran leadership and playmaking that kept the offense flowing. Aaliyah Boston stuffed the stat sheet with 14 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in what was arguably the most complete performance of the season. Natasha Howard added 18 points and provided crucial interior presence, while Lexi Hull came through with a dagger three-pointer that essentially sealed the victory with 44 seconds remaining in overtime. Even Brianna Turner, who's barely played meaningful minutes all season, contributed 10 positive minutes off the bench and helped anchor the defense during crucial stretches of the comeback. This was a total team effort from a group that refused to use injuries and adversity as excuses for not competing at the highest level. The strategic adjustments that Stephanie White made during this comeback also deserve recognition, because she managed to find the right rotations and matchups despite having a severely limited roster to work with. The decision to start Sims and trust her with significant minutes in such a crucial game paid off tremendously, while the choice to stick with Mitchell, even when his shots weren't falling in the first half, showed the kind of faith in her players that championship coaches demonstrate. White's ability to keep her team focused and motivated after watching Sophie get injured and fall behind by 21 points speaks to her growth as a leader. From a technical standpoint, this comeback was a masterclass in how to execute when facing elimination level pressure.